Welcome to my channel. I'm Virginia, and we're going to cover 2001 when I had brain surgery. It was a scary time. I had, on 2001, woke up day after Valentine's Day. I remember exactly because I went out with my husband the night before, and we had a nice dinner. And then the next day, I woke up and I couldn't stand up. I tried standing up and I hit the floor. I couldn't understand why. Everything was spinning so badly. And I didn't have a cell phone. So in our home, thank God it was a one-story home. And we did have a landline, of course, because I didn't have a cell phone. And I called my husband at work and said, something's wrong. I don't know what's happening. And we didn't know what it was at all, that it could be something wrong with the brain. I was just hoping it was an inner ear infection, but I kind of knew it wasn't because I've had those before. So he rushed me to the emergency room and they did a CT and they could see something on my brain located behind my left eye. And at that point, you're thinking, oh my gosh, what could it be? You know, you're scared. You don't. We had only been married for a few years. We got married in 1998, which really feels weird saying 1998, but yeah. So, but they said they needed to do I'm not sure the technical term, but what it is they run a camera scope up through your groin area, clear up to your brain. There is a risk with that. You can die on the table because they have to go through the heart chamber and everything. So I was pretty nervous, thinking I really didn't want this done. But of course, they were saying if I didn't have it done, that I could die. And I didn't want to die. I had an 11-year-old daughter. She was going to be turning 11 in April. And I didn't want her to be alone. She is from a prior marriage. And yes, I was married before and everything. But I had main custody of her. And I just didn't want her to not have a mom. And it was very important to me. So they had scared me into thinking I needed to get this done. And I was like, okay, fine. So, of course, they prep you for this. Well, that was not fun at all. Imagine laying on a metal table in a room with not a stitch of clothes on. And unfortunately, there was only one girl nurse. All the rest were men, and the doctors were all men. So, and I was much heavier then, too. Uh, but still at that age, you're going, oh my gosh, And then it was really cool. My personal doctor showed up at the hospital and he talked to me and calmed me down and everything. And it made me feel better. But I have problems with IVs. I don't have very good veins. So it's very hard to get an IV or anything like that on me. So they had already poked me like 6 or 7 times trying to get an IV in so they could put a special dye and everything, keep me hydrated and stuff. And finally got it in. I think it was like the 7th or 8th time. And boy, being stabbed that many times, just, you're already nervous. You talk about being really nervous. And of course, everything's running through your head at that point. You wonder. You wonder if you're going to make it. Because they do a good job of scaring you. And really, I understand it, but they really didn't need to do that. And that was hard. That was very hard for me. So they were going to start the test. And like I said, they go through the groin area. They'll make it cut you. You have to lay very still. Well, before they even started that, the female nurse had come in to check something. She turned and knocked my IV out of my arm. And let's put it this way, the room started spinning like crazy because I wasn't getting the fluids. I had been there for quite a while. No eating, no drinking. And I was like, I was done. I was like, nope, we're not doing this. Something is telling me not to do it. And the doctor was like, well, we'll have to wait a couple of hours, redo it. I said, absolutely not. I was done. I couldn't take anymore. I said, he goes, well, I said, what can we do otherwise? He goes, well, you're going to have to schedule, with a specialist and have an MRI done. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do that. I'm not going to go through this. And during this whole time, I will display pictures of after brain surgery later. So you will see it. I think I have some befores, but I know I definitely have afters. Whew, that was an experience. But I told him I would rather take that chance. He said, you could go home, you'll die. I just knew in my heart that wasn't going to happen. Sometimes you have to go with your instinct, and I did this time. Was I scared? Yes. But something was saying, no, let's just do it this way. So I did go home. I called a neurologist, and he got me in immediately because, of course, I had a referral from the emergency room that, hey, she's got something on her brain. When the neurologist was the first neurologist was a female. And then the neurologist the heart specialist that does the surgery was a gentleman and everything. She was really nice. Went to her. She said, okay, we're going to have to put you on some seizure medicines. Let's go ahead and get you scheduled for MRIs and see what we can do. Well, I don't like small areas. I'm very claustrophobic. So I have panic attacks. So she was like, okay, let's go ahead and try an open MRI. We scheduled it, got in, and had it done. Well, unfortunately, with an open MRI, they're open on each side. And it was on the side behind my left eye. And so that was a problem. They couldn't see it correctly. So that was a no-go. They looked at it and, sent it to the doctor. And of course, the doctor at that appointment said, yeah, we got to do a closed MRI. Well, I said, well, you're going to have to give me something that puts me in la la land because I do not do well. So they did. And I went through that MRI. Well, these MRIs aren't just a few minutes. They're an hour and 45 minutes long because you don't only have the scan. Halfway through, they put, now each time I have a IV put in, so they can give you a dye to put in your system. And of course, you're going to these appointments and you're going, what? And they're like, yeah, we need you to sign this paper and say that you're not going to get pregnant or anything, or don't want to have kids, because this dye could cause problems. Well, I didn't want any more kids, so we were good there. I had the one. And that was one thing I asked my husband when I went out on a date first time was, you want kids? He said, no. I said, woo, we're good. But anyways, back to the brain surgery. So I had the MRI done. Don't remember a whole lot of it because I was in La La Land and everything. They did have problems getting the IV in. I always have that problem. It really sucks. But it's the way it is. So, excuse me. So, went to the doctor again once they got the scans there. Said they couldn't tell what it was. They could see it was growing. And it was like, well, what do you think it could be? Well, it could be a tumor. It could be cancer. And here's my JG. And I told you we'd have cats in the video. He's a baby. He just turned 2. But with that, she said they can't tell. They can tell it's growing slowly, but it's growing. And that to me was like alarming and everything. And she goes, okay, we're going to have to get you into another one in a more updated machine. The one that I was in was an older machine. So, of course, we went to another one and had it done again, went through the whole rigmarole, getting poked and everything over and over. Needless to say, they still with the new machine couldn't tell. Now, mind you, I had a total of 5 MRIs before surgery. 6, excuse me, before surgery. So I was just like, what are we going to do? And they're like, well, let's try a 3-dimensional MRI. Okay, that was interesting, I had to say. I was a 3-dimensional. And they said, yeah, you'll go to this appointment, same thing, except it takes a view of your brain and your head in a 3-dimensional. You see it on a movie, where you see the head turning and you see the whole outside. And it would break down the different areas piece by piece. And, of course, an hour and 45 minutes. I think this one was 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, because of how detailed it is. And the nice part about it is you got it done and they handed the films to you. It was like, oh, I get to take it. And they're like, yeah, take them back to the appointment. Now, mind you, I had 6 MRIs in 3 months. Okay, started in February. It's now May. And I had bought my daughter tickets to go to a Backstreet Boys concert in Las Vegas. We lived in California at the time. And I didn't know how I was going to do that. We would be driving, and everything, but they were afraid I was going to have seizures. I was on so much medicine. My face was so blown up and everything. I was miserable, and I was dizzy. I didn't feel good. I just kept going with the smile and everything. It wasn't working. I had my driver's license taken away from me because they didn't want me to have a seizure and have a car accident and kill somebody. And I was totally okay with that. I don't want to do that either, So it was hard. I was stuck at home. So as soon as somebody walked in the door, it was like, that drove, it was like, can we go somewhere? Because I was ready to go nuts and everything. I wasn't allowed to do a whole lot of stuff. I had a pool, couldn't swim, wasn't allowed to do that. I wasn't allowed to do too much cleaning because they didn't want me bending over because they didn't know what it was at the time. Well, this 3-dimensional MRI, the doctor was able to tell what it was. It was a aneurysm. And I was like, what? Because I've heard so many people die of that. And they said, okay, we've got to get you into surgery. It'll be a week out. I had told the woman a couple of days I'm going to be going to this concert with my daughter in Vegas. My husband's driving us and everything. She goes, I'll allow that because I'm going to be in Vegas at that time. And I was like, what? She goes, I'm going to give you my personal cell. If you have any issues or anything like that, I could get a hold of her, which was so great because I really wanted to go to this. Especially when a doctor says to you have a 50-50 chance of living. And you have a child that's 11 years old. And all the things run through your head. Of, are you going to see her grow up? Are you going to see her get married? You know? But then I turned it around, and I've always been a positive person. And I turned it around and said, no, I'm going to be fine. I am going to be fine. And I was so determined. And yes, we went to the concert. We had a wonderful time. I got back. And I think 2 days later, 2 to 3 days later, I had brain surgery. The surgeon that's a neurologist, he wasn't the most friendliest bedside surgeon, but you got to think of specialists, they're not always real friendly or anything. I was okay with that, you know, but I told him I did not want to stay in the hospital that long. My husband was able to work with his company and get where he could work from home to take care of me. And I told the doctor, I don't like hospitals. I don't want to get an infection because when you do go to the hospital, we went over all that. There's a possibility of infection, you know, just different things. I didn't want to risk that. I'm going through brain surgery. I don't want to all of a sudden, and I don't like hospitals because I hate being poked every 6 hours or whatever. You know, got to take the blood, got to do this. Well, when I went into brain surgery that day, I dreamt about it. Might look at me weird or whatever, but I did. I dreamt about it, that I was going to be fine, that it was going to all work out and be fine. So my doctor made a deal with me. He said if I went through the brain surgery, I went through an MRI sober, which really that was hard, and had to go to the bathroom. And third thing was I had to be able to chew because where it was located, they had to cut through my 4 jaw muscles here. So it was quite interesting. That's, yeah, it just, unfortunately, that was painful. But, and after you have brain surgery, you don't get pain pills, no pain meds. You only get one Tylenol every 4 hours. So I was prepared. I have a high tolerance for pain, but I just wanted to go home the next day. Now, when you have brain surgery, they ask you, you can only have 2 people visit you because you're in the ICU at all times. I did not realize, I asked the doctor not to tell me anything about it, didn't want to know how it was going to be afterwards, how it was going to look. I should have probably asked, but I didn't. All I wanted to do is see my husband and my daughter. I wanted to see them, you know, they're my life. They're everything to me. And well, after surgery, I didn't realize they were going to have me tied to the bed, so I didn't accidentally pull out tubes that were going into the head. Now, mind you, I didn't ask what they were going to be doing. That was my fault and everything. But after the surgery, I didn't come to, and they were really afraid, and I was in the ICU, and they brought my daughter in. I heard her voice. And as soon as I heard her voice, my eyes opened, and I was so happy to see her. Even though she told me afterwards it scared her. And still to this day, she still remembers it. But she's glad that she had her, that I had her come in, because she needed to know I was okay. And I didn't even stay in the hospital 24 hours. And you'll see in the pictures, there's side view. Um, my head's, of course, shaved. Now, mind you, they only shaved half of my head. My husband had to shave the other half because I wasn't going to walk around with hair on one side, staples and bear on one side. Poor husband and everything. But you're going to see in the pictures the side view, the straight on, the face being swollen and everything like that. It was quite an experience. I did everything he asked of me. Yes, I did go an MRI. I had to ask him if they blindfold me, and they only put me in at 3-minute increments, get the scan to make sure there was no bleeding. I was fine with that. I did get through it, and I did go home within less than 24 hours of being in there. Remember having an argument with the nurse when I woke up and the next morning, and she goes, "You're not going home. You'll be here for so many days." And I said, "No, the doctor said I'll be going home." And then the doctor was in the door, at the door, and the nurse started to argue with me again. And he goes, "No, if she does what I asked, she will be going home," which felt really nice because I was determined to go home and everything. I could walk, I could do all. The only problem I really had is I couldn't talk very well. I had such a stutter. It was hard for me to speak. And that was hard. Two, the doctor, when I went into surgery, I didn't have signs of diabetes. I came out and I had diabetes because my surgery took over 10 hours. Unfortunately, the aneurysm blew while they were in there, and they were trying to get all the blood and everything so removed so I could have a normal life. And the surgery took 2 hours longer than it should have. My poor husband and everybody thought I died because nobody's going out there to tell him. And I totally get it because nobody could leave to go tell them. It was a situation they had to deal with me and saving me. But that's how I got diabetes. And I was okay with that. I was alive. If that's the worst thing, and I couldn't talk very well, the stutter was incredible. Couldn't get words out. And that was hard. That was very hard. But my daughter was a trooper. Every single day after school, she would come home. My husband was working from home, and she would do the phonics game with me and pronouncing all the words out. so I could learn how to speak again. I do still have a stutter, but it's pretty much when I get nervous or I can't quite say a word correctly. I do have that. Now, after brain surgery, I don't remember everything in life. It was located in the creative side of my brain. So, with that said, I've been sewing since I was 7 years old. So, I had to learn how to sew because I couldn't remember. I learned embroidery after the fact. Um, I used to play the piano. I don't know how to play the piano anymore. I played the guitar. I don't know how to play the guitar. So I lost little chunks of memory. I don't remember everything in life. I kind of wish it would have took the bad stuff out. That would have been good, but no, it left that. And I'll go over that too later in another video. But I did make it through it. And I'm still, to this day, grateful for being alive. I look at life as a precious. I'm not very healthy, because of diabetes. It's run the body down. And all the health conditions. But that's okay. I'm still going. I'm still married to the same man that stood by me when I was bald and everything. And yeah, that wasn't fun because I went out. I wanted to get out of the house. So I decided I was going to go out without covering my head. I just had the staples taken out. And a guy at a store, I went to walk in. My husband had gone back because he's like, I think I left the car unlocked. And I was like, okay. I'm just going to go in and grab a basket and I'll wait right there for you. Because it was warm outside. And I was walking in and the guy called me a dyke. Well, he was on this side of me. The brain surgery was on this side of me. And needless to say, that was the wrong thing to say to me because I went ballistic on the guy. And my husband was like, what's going on, And he goes over and I'm chewing this guy out. Nice part about it was the manager of the store was up front. He knew me anyways. I shopped there quite a bit and everything like that. He lived in the neighborhood that I lived in. And he heard the guy. He was very furious. And when I turned to the guy, I said, hey, you're calling me a dyke, but yet you don't realize I had brain surgery. He was like, no, you don't judge people like that. You just don't do it. That's wrong. It is totally wrong to do that because you don't know the circumstances of what's going on. And if they are, oh, well, it's none of your business. What people are, that's their business. That is nobody else's business. And I was not happy, so I've been called different things and I've been through a lot of stuff. And yeah, I made it through it. And you know what? I'm glad. But the pictures will be displayed. Just, if you don't like things like that, just close your eyes or whatever. It's not it's not gross. It's not gory or anything like that. It just shows the scar of, the staples and the skull and stuff like that. I kept it real clean. I was real good about all that stuff like that. So, but no after effects other than I do have a stutter and I have diabetes and I can't remember certain stuff. But that's okay. Life still goes on. I'm going to smile and I'm going to keep going. So please take the time to subscribe and like if you like this video, because I'll be posting another video next week. And we'll go over some other things that I've had. So please have a wonderful day and thank you for your time and goodbye.